Tonight, on To the Point.
These costs are then going to be passed on to policyholders.
A new push at the federal level to stop a tax in California, how your health insurance could be impacted. Counting down to the midterm elections, tonight the campaign's heating up over what's at stake. More efforts underway to restrict mail-in voting, the big court decision favoring California, plus the Iran war, where conversations head next, and why a major escalation was once again paused. A tax on California health plans could take effect next year, and critics are warning that it could drive up insurance premiums. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. Tonight, a group of California Congress members is urging the Trump administration to block that tax. ABC's 10's Gina Nguyen joins us to explain what they are demanding and also how California's healthcare industry is responding.
Well, Alex, California's new budget restructures a tax on health plans. Critics warn the cost could be passed to customers through higher premiums. Now, Congress members are urging the Trump administration to block it.
That is responsible budgeting. This is part of it. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
In June, Democratic leaders and Governor Gavin Newsom approved the state's budget, which included two proposed taxes. The Managed Care Organization, or MCO tax, is one of them and has been in place for about 2 decades. It's a tax on Medi-Cal and commercial health plans. California has historically charged Medi-Cal plans more, as those funds were matched nearly 1-to-1 by the federal government. But under new federal rules, the tax rate must be equal for private and public insurers, which is why the governor and legislature included the proposal in the budget.
My colleagues and I, signed on to a letter saying, don't give it, because that's the last thing that we need is to have, our insurance premiums go up even more.
Republican Congressman James Gallagher, along with independent Congressman Kevin Kiley, signed this letter asking the Department of Health and Human Services to federally deny the proposed tax.
What they're doing is they're imposing this new tax on healthcare plans. So it's about $8.50 per enrollee. And so what that means is that these costs are then going to be passed on to policyholders in the form of increased premiums.
The tax does not directly increase premiums, but the Nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office estimates premiums could rise about 1.5% if health plans pass the full cost to customers. Multiple healthcare groups also oppose the tax, including the California Association of Health Plans. Even though this is not a direct tax on residents, they argue this tax would add more financial burden onto people who buy healthcare coverage on their own or receive it through their employers. State Democratic lawmakers argued the new tax is needed given the unstable revenue.
We cannot live just on day-to-day stock market gains by the AI companies. We have to have a stable tax system in this state.
A spokesperson with the California Department of Finance tells ABC 10 this MCO tax was approved to comply with federal law changes that the president signed last year and anticipates the administration will approve this state proposal. Now, I did reach out to the Department of Health and Human Services for comment on this letter and have not received a response. Alex.
All right, in your voice, your vote tonight, the high-stakes midterm elections are now less than 100 days away. Republicans hoping to keep the thin majorities in both chambers of Congress, while Democrats are fighting to flip enough seats. Today, President Donald Trump was in Michigan speaking to a crowd at a General Motors facility in suburban Detroit, while Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke, saying the Democratic Party will be focused on affordability and a referendum on Trump.
You have some great representatives that are going to become governor, senator, congressman, women.
When you put us back in charge of the United States House of Representatives, you'll get a Congress that speaks up for everyday Americans and a Congress that stands up to an out-of-control president.
Underscoring just how high the stakes are this year, Republicans are holding their first ever national midterm convention that is set for Dallas, Texas in just 6 weeks. But campaigns are also gearing up at the state level, too. We already know the governor's race has been highly contested, and Republican Steve Hilton, who is up against Democrat Javier Becerra, is already making moves. ABC's 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh explains.
Can you be anti-Trump but still vote for me? That's how Steve Hilton begins his latest post. Hilton had President Trump's endorsement in both the primary and general elections, but now he appears to be trying to expand his appeal beyond Trump's base.
You got to do what you got to do, right? And Hilton understands that the math doesn't math for Republicans in California.
The race for governor is set. Democrat Javier Becerra versus Republican Steve Hilton. Becerra with the backing of Governor Newsom, while Hilton has President Trump's endorsement.
Now he has to pivot, right? General election. He needs more than just Republicans if he's going to have any chance.
Political experts agree while the Trump endorsement helped Hilton advance past the June primary, Republicans have a built-in disadvantage in California, with nearly double the number of registered Democrats as there are Republicans.
To get out of the box he's in, by having an R next to his name, by being a Trump-endorsed candidate.
So enter Hilton's latest strategy, oppose persuading anti-Trump Californians to vote for him.
Kind of clever, and I think it's something that he has to do because you have to realize that President Trump in California is a pariah politically.
Hilton presents a quote-unquote simple test with questions like, I can't stand Trump, but I'm not happy with the way things have been run in California lately, and I'm a Democrat, but I want to send a message that we need a change.
To give those Trump haters and those people in California who dislike Trump sort of permission to vote for a different kind of Republican.
Other questions touch on specific issues like high taxes, affordability, climate change, and public education.
Hilton is trying to frame the debate in California as one that basically analyzes democratic governance over the last several decades, and not national politics.
In such a deep blue state like California, does that discontent or desire for change outweigh the D or the R next to a candidate's name?
No, I don't believe so.
There are voters that I think he may be able to reckon with. The problem is there's not enough of them.
Experts say these are Hilton's efforts to appeal across the political spectrum by separating the judgment voters have of him versus of President Trump. Hilton telling us this in an early July interview.
I think that's the whole point of my campaign. It's not actually that partisan. It's not about Democrat or Republican or Trump or this or whatever.
When asked about the strategy behind the post, a spokesperson for the Hilton campaign tells us this isn't Hilton distancing himself from the president, rather giving, quote, voters a permission slip to look past the letter next to a candidate's name. And a Becerra spokesperson tells us in part, quote, if you're sick of high prices at the pump and the produce aisle, voters won't find salvation in Donald Trump's disciple. Jenny Hupp, ABC 10.
And tonight, ahead of the midterms, President Trump asked the Supreme Court to allow his executive order on mail-in voting to move forward. The directive would require states to submit lists of eligible mail voters to the U.S. Postal Service. The Postal Service would be banned from sending ballots to anyone not on those lists. It would also prosecute state election officials who send or receive ballots to non-citizens or others ineligible to vote. 23 states, including California, sued to stop the executive order. They argued that the Constitution leaves it up to the states to run their elections. Over the weekend, a federal appeals court upheld a previous court's order blocking this directive for this year's election. In the states that sued, State Attorney General Rob Bonta saying in part, quote, we will continue fighting to protect the right to vote and defend the rule of law. And this morning, President Trump called on Senate Majority Leader John Thune to cancel the Senate's upcoming August break until senators pass the SAVE Act, known as the Proof of Citizenship voting bill. Republicans lacking enough votes to advance it. Thune said that he would be supportive of canceling the break if there was a path forward on the legislation. Last week, the U.S. House approved a budget framework that included $10 billion for the changes the SAVE Act demands. Still ahead, we are following some breaking news of brush fire near Sonora, keeping crews on alert. We are live on the fire line. Plus, escalation of the Iran war has been paused for now. What all that means for gas prices.
And I'm tracking a stretch of 100-degree days. How many days will it last? Well, I'll show you that with our weather impact alert breakdown coming up next.
But first, another headlines tonight. An investigation remains underway after 5 people were stabbed in Old Sacramento over the weekend. One victim we spoke to has 3 stab wounds to the head.
All I remember was we were hanging out, and then I got hit by something in my head, and I blacked out. I saw my brother on the ground, and then I blacked out again.
Tonight, an 18-year-old is facing assault charges. It's still unclear what led up to the stabbings. In Seattle, the search continues for a third suspect after 3 people were killed and 5 others were hurt in a shooting near the Space Needle. Police say 3 people exchanged gunfire during a large event Sunday evening. They say at least one 15-year-old is in custody, and the shooting was likely gang-related. And tonight, former FBI Director James Comey is taking another legal swing at having a threats case against him dismissed. Attorneys tell a federal judge there was no actual threat against President Trump in a 2025 social media post that showed an image of seashells spelling out 8647. 86 is often a reference to getting rid of something, and Trump is the nation's 47th president. A trial could happen in October.
Welcome back in. We are following breaking news tonight in Tuolumne County. ABC 10's Robbie Reynolds just arrived at the scene of a new fire near Sonora. This is being called the Court Fire. Robbie, what more can you tell us right now?
That's right. Well, it's being called the Court Fire because it's actually right next to the Tuolumne County Superior Court, which is to my left over here. Behind me, you're going to see firefighters right now working on the flames here. It looks like they've done a great job of putting those flames down. This is the burn scar here. As you see them hard at work, taking care of those hot spots right now. Highway 108 is just right next to them there up on that hillside. That is where this fire is located. And we did get an update on the fire as well. There were some evacuations in place, but much of those evacuation warnings have now been lifted. And then Sanguinetti Loop, one of the roads around here, is open as well. There are still some evacuation warnings in place around the court and other areas. There's also some businesses like a Safeway and a Staples around here as well, where they just have some warnings in as firefighters are doing their work. So looks like they're making really good progress out here. It's not a very big fire. Good that with these conditions, with the hot weather, they've been able to get out here quick and get things under control as best they can.
All right, Robbie, thank you so much. And we've also been following the Dove Fire, also in Tuolumne County. It has forced evacuations near Jamestown since sparking Sunday afternoon. More than 200 acres have burned. CAL FIRE saying 2 firefighters were hurt battling those flames. We are now waiting for an update on their condition. I do want to get things over to Peter, though. Peter, I know as we were talking before, it's seasonal. It's dry. We're humid. You're actually tracking the humidity. What else can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, it's just dry and it's hot. It's summer, so we expect this. And actually, as we get into the days ahead, it's going to get even hotter, which means the air is going to get even drier. That's why you saw that weather impact alert animation. And that's why we have a weather impact alert as we get into the days ahead, is for even more heat. But for now, we're seasonal and dry. 13% is that humidity in Sonora right now. So it's very dry air, but we're not seeing a whole lot of wind. It's just dry and hot. Wind speeds only maybe up to 10 miles per hour. There's temperatures across the board currently right around the mid to upper 80s for a large portion of the valley. A little bit warmer further to the north, still into those mid 90s. And really, we're just tracking that warming trend. That's what we're talking about here right now. But what's next is the stretch of 100-degree highs. That's why we have this weather impact alert. And what's new in the forecast and involve those 100-degree highs is, well, how many 100s we'll have. How long will that stretch of them be? And now it's 5 days. That's why we've issued this weather impact alert, because this high is slowly but surely just going to continue to push closer to the region as we get into the days ahead. By Friday, it'll be pretty much right along the California-Arizona border. That's when we're going to see our first 100-degree high on your Friday. It continues on Saturday, and it's going to continue on Sunday as that high continues to move closer towards us here in Sacramento. That's what's allowing the sinking air, the warming temperatures here throughout the region. Sunday's the hottest day in the forecast. That high remains over the state through Monday, but then it starts to shift its way further back off towards the east. That's why we start to see the pattern break down just a little bit as we get towards your Tuesday. That's the last 100-degree day in the forecast, at least as of right now. But that's why we have this weather impact alert for that prolonged heat, that stretch 100-degree plus days. So what you need to do is practice heat safety. And let's kind of talk about some of those heat safety reminders here. Avoid time outdoors during the hottest time of the day, 1 to 9 p.m. Take some breaks in the shade, hydrate, put on your sunscreen as well. If there's a lot of radiation impacting temperatures, it's going to impact your skin. You're going to get sunburned as well. And check on others, your children, the elderly, and of course our pets here too. Overnight tonight though, pretty seasonal, right around the upper 50s to low 60s for our overnight lows. Your highs for your Tuesday starting to get warmer. We start to see more of those mid to upper 90s here in the forecast. And you can see by the time we get towards your Friday and Saturday, even in the high country, we're talking about highs into the 90s. And here in Sacramento, we're talking about temperatures into the 100s. You can see that 5-day stretch for our weather impact alert. Alex, it's going to be hot. It's not too hot, but it's just the stretch of them. So make sure you're staying hydrated and being responsible in the heat.
Yes. All right, Peter, thank you so much. Right after the break, new tariffs and the cost of living, how much more analysts say that families will be paying this year. And some new details tonight about Lindsey Graham, the late congressman's funeral services starting tomorrow. New information tonight in the war with Iran. President Trump has reportedly held off on a major escalation in the war, but as ABC's Olivia Rubin explains, it is also raising questions.
After unrelenting strikes against Iran for weeks, a quiet night in the Middle East. As sources tell ABC News, President Trump has put off a major escalation with Iran for now. The sources saying Trump was prepared Friday to okay a series of attacks, but Trump holding off after a meeting with top advisors, sources say, to explore diplomacy. Sources saying top officials also discussed the impact a major escalation could have on the Pentagon's depleting stockpile of air defense interceptors.
I think this is more of a tactical pause, meaning that it's about rearming, refueling, and refitting, rather than any kind of indication that we're going to make a breakthrough here.
President Trump denying depleting munitions are a problem.
We have a lot of the mid-level stuff, too. I mean, more than we could ever use no matter what. But we have a lot. I'd like to have more.
But despite the administration's hopes for diplomacy, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson today claiming publicly there are, quote, no negotiations with America. Iran, meanwhile, saying it made progress after talks with Oman over managing ship traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. Oil ships there have faced repeated attacks from Iranians throughout the war, driving up prices.
And with this fighting pause, oil prices sinking back down nearly 8%, but the price for a gallon of gas still averaging above $4 a gallon, according to Gas Buddy, up more than 10 cents since last week. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Washington.
And let's get our local check here in California. We know we always tend to trend higher. According to AAA, a regular gallon of gas going to cost you an average of about $5.64 a gallon. That is up 14 cents from a week ago. Tomorrow, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet with President Trump before attending late Senator Lindsey Graham's funeral. The two are expected to discuss Iran. In this recorded video, the Prime Minister called President Trump a friend and Lindsey Graham one of the greatest friends of the state of Israel of all time. Funeral services begin tomorrow for Graham in Washington at the Washington National Cathedral and will end Wednesday in South Carolina. Meanwhile, tonight, Senator Mitch McConnell's office has released a photo and an update on his health. It shows the 84-year-old Kentucky Republican with his wife. His office says that McConnell continues to undergo physical therapy at a rehab facility after a fall at his home last month led to a nearly month-long hospitalization. He has not yet been medically cleared to return to the Senate quite yet. All right, jumping in your price points tonight. According to a new Gallup poll, Americans' confidence in the economy has improved, but it is still negative. So take a look at this. 22% of Americans said the economy was excellent or good, which is up to 16% from May, but the vast majority remain pessimistic, sitting at 67%, saying the economy is getting worse. It comes as everyday goods continue to cost people more and more. Many Americans continue to change their eating as well as their shopping habits.
People are having less money to spend on any number of things. And we're seeing the ramifications of this.
When 2026 began, government economists expected grocery prices to rise at close to an average rate. Instead, they have crept up, making affordability a bigger political issue in the midterm elections this November. New analysis from the Yale Budget Lab suggests President Trump's updated tariff policy will cost the typical American household $1,075 a year. On Friday, the White House imposed sweeping tariffs on 60 countries, saying that they are aimed at combating forced labor violations. The tariffs, which range anywhere from 10 to 12.5%, impact about 99% of all U.S. imports. President Trump argues these new tariffs will revive American manufacturing, but many economists say, look, they are a tax on American consumers, saying American consumers are likely to see those higher prices. And look, we all know on Wednesday, the Federal Reserve all eyes will be on the Federal Reserve when they decide whether or not to change interest rates. President Trump has been calling for rates to be lowered. Meanwhile, analysts believe rates could stay unchanged over inflation and higher energy prices. Right after the break, lottery fever, the jackpot that is rising once again. All right, before we go, it is not too late to get a ticket for the next lottery jackpot. The jackpot growing again with no winners over the weekend. So look, nearly $1.5 billion on the table here, folks. Tonight's Powerball grand prize will be at least $633 million. And tomorrow night's Mega Millions will be at least $800 million. It costs $5 for a Mega Millions ticket and $2 for a Powerball ticket. Powerball numbers will be picked at 7:59. And of course, we continue to track our weather impact alert happening this week with those rising temperatures that Peter was telling us about. Don't forget, our weather impact team always here for you. You can scan that QR code on your screen and get the latest conditions anytime, and also check out our 24/7 radar that is completely free on our streaming app. Again, just scan that QR code and you can keep track of your weather as well as any stories that you might have missed as well. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. I know a lot of you have written into us lately. We will reach back out to you guys as soon as we get a chance, but thank you so much. It means a lot.